It's a really challenging time for emergency services right now, across the North Country and across the state. There's a shortage of volunteer EMTs and paramedics, and therefore longer wait times. Some ambulance squads have closed or consolidated. Many are struggling to stay afloat financially. So you'd think it would be good news that a new ambulance service wants to open. But the existing squads say no, that's bad. It's just going to spread the EMTs that are left too thin. That's today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Claxton Hepburn Medical Center, dedicated to providing patient care and regional services to the people of St. Lawrence County. claxtonhepburn.org.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Thursday, February 13th. First up, a state prison in western New York went on lockdown earlier this week after inmates briefly took control of 3 dormitory areas. State corrections officials say early Wednesday, staff at Collins Correctional found an inmate with 2 cell phones, which are considered contraband. When force was used to get the phones, inmates became agitated, and staff left the dorm after encountering, quote, various potential threats. Response teams peacefully restored staff to the units after several hours. Officials said 1 corrections officer suffered a minor hand injury and returned to work. No inmates were injured. Top officials from Governor Kathy Hochul's office are traveling the state to promote her budget priorities. This week, Secretary of State Walter Mosley was in Ticonderoga, Watertown, and Saranac Lake, where he talked about Hochul's so-called affordability agenda. He also shed light on how President Donald Trump's promised crackdown on illegal immigrants impacts New York's Office of New Americans. Emily Russell reports.
A few dozen people gathered earlier this week inside a classroom at North Country Community College in Saranac Lake. There were representatives from Adirondack groups like the APA, ANCA, Roost, and ORDA. They were there to see Secretary of State Walter Mosley. Mosley was acting as a surrogate for Governor Kathy Hochul and her budget proposals, which include middle-class tax cuts, free school meals for all students, and inflation refund checks.
So for the first time ever, the Inflation Refund Initiative, billions of dollars will go back to 8.6 million New Yorkers who make less than $300,000 a year. For the North Country, the inflation refund would benefit 163,000 families.
Mosley also highlighted Hochul's budget priorities that focus on childcare, housing, and workforce development. Lawmakers in Albany are in session right now, ironing out their own budget priorities. A final state spending plan is due by April 1st. At his stops in Watertown and Saranac Lake this week, Mosley also introduced people to his own responsibilities as Secretary of State. His office oversees the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, the Consumer Protection Division, and the Office for New Americans, which helps connect immigrants with legal and other services.
We have many resources in place for immigrants looking for a pathway to citizenship, and we will continue to invest in those resources and services.
There are more than 670,000 undocumented immigrants living in New York. That's according to the latest data from the Center for Migration Studies. President Donald Trump has promised a severe crackdown on undocumented immigrants in the U.S. in his second term of his presidency. More than 100 people in the New York City area were recently arrested as part of that crackdown. After his presentation in Saranac Lake, Secretary of State Walter Mosley said the governor has and will work with Immigration and Customs Enforcement on helping detain immigrants who have broken criminal laws.
We're going to continue to work with ICE when it is necessary. So when we're talking about capturing a criminal fugitive, someone who has broken the law, penal law, someone who is a violent offender, someone who wishes to do harm to others.
But Mosley described it as a delicate situation. He drew a distinction between an immigrant who has broken a criminal law and someone whose sole offense is being undocumented.
We have people who are undocumented, but not violent offenders, not criminals, who have children to raise and have who are caregivers of others and who also contribute to our economy.
The Office for New Americans, which Mosley oversees as Secretary of State, has provided services to more than 750,000 people since it was created in 2012. Mosley said while the office hasn't seen a notable uptick in requests for help since Trump took office last month, He said the sentiment from people has changed.
Folks just don't know what is taking place and, what policies are going to be pushed by the administration and what's going to stick, what's not going to stick. So there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of trepidation, and you feel it. It's palpable.
Mosley said the Office for New Americans will continue to focus on helping immigrants in New York find pathways to citizenship. Emily Russell, North Country Public Radio, Saranac Lake.
So, a new ambulance service was recently proposed in St. Lawrence and Jefferson counties. Good news, right? For a system strained by long wait times. But the proposal was rejected by a local council of ambulance squads this week. Amy Feiereisel explains why.
Last September, the North Star Health Alliance, which includes the Carthage Area Hospital and Claxton Hepburn and Ogdensburg, announced plans to establish its own ambulance service to move patients from one facility to another. It says wait times for rides from local rescue squads are too long.
On average, patients wait for over 3 hours.
Dominic Doldo is the organization's vice president of emergency services.
But even more concerning than that 3-hour delay are the extreme outliers of 10 hours plus on a regular basis, and some of them several days long.
To solve that problem, the North Star Health Alliance wants to start its own service with 3 ambulances and 30 EMTs and paramedics. But local rescue squads quickly came out against that plan. They say the core issue of long wait times is a statewide shortage of emergency responders, and that a new service won't fix that problem, just poach staff from local squads. Carthage Area Rescue Squad Chief Amanda Henry spoke with WWNY-TV last fall.
I don't think by adding another ambulance service, it's going to add additional staffing.
Henry says local squads also make most of their money transferring patients between hospitals. That makes community calls, like responding to someone having a heart attack in their home, possible.
We're doing, on average, between 70 and 75 interfacility transports every single month. It makes up roughly 60% of our revenue. Like I said, it would be very detrimental to our operations.
But the North Star Health Alliance says the current long wait times are unacceptable. The issue came to a head last Tuesday at a public hearing of the North Country Regional EMS Council. Council Chair Debbie Singleton, a longtime member of the South Jefferson Rescue Squad, said 130 people showed up.
First, we had people that were in favor of it get up and speak, and then we had people that were opposed to it. I should also go on record as saying we got over 50 opposition letters. I got 1 letter in support.
The North Star Health Alliance was seeking a certificate of need from the council. Dominic Doldo says that's necessary to form a new ambulance service.
We provided overwhelming evidence of the need for our ambulance service at the public hearing. The hearing officer rendered a pretty strong opinion in our favor.
The independent hearing officer was Lee Burns, the former director of New York State's Bureau of EMS. Burns recommended that North Star's request be approved to establish a new ambulance service. But in a follow-up special meeting held on Monday night, the Regional EMS Council unanimously voted not to. Council Chair Debbie Singleton again.
We feel that it's not a shortage of ambulances, but a shortage of staff that can staff those ambulances.
Singleton says council members want to explore how to reallocate existing resources and how the North Star Health Alliance could partner with local agencies to reduce wait times.
So we really would like to collaborate with them, establish maybe some better ways to do it without introducing another ambulance service. So it is going to basically rob Peter to pay Paul. They're going to take providers that are currently certified to put on the rigs, and that's going to short-staff the others.
Dominic Doldo says the North Star Health Alliance was disappointed by the council's decision.
It's disheartening that a local regional EMS council would disapprove somebody that's trying to strengthen the EMS system in their community.
Without the local council's approval, the North Star Health Alliance has to appeal to the state's Emergency Medical Services Council. Doldo says they plan to do so. Amy Feiereisel, North Country Public Radio.
We have more news all the time on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by Caitlin Scholl of Lake Placid and Oscar Sarmiento of Potsdam. I'm David Sommerstein, North Country Public Radio.